Hey, what's up guys? This is Oakley and it's going to be a 2v2 battle following up on the Shogun 2 series of games that I've been playing. I'm going to put it on slow motion just because this is off to a quick start. So right off the bat, it's going to be two players, obviously myself right here, and this is going to be sort of a buddy of mine who helped with the series Kenai documentary, and he is going to be Koala from the Bear Clan, so he's laid up here. And just as a disclaimer, we're obviously doing traditional armies. I have a veteran army with individualized units. However, Koala did not actually have too much playtime in Shogun 2, so he's going to be using actually some vanilla units. His build is going to be basically a front line of Yari Samurai, followed up by Bo Ashigaru, and then on the right he has 2 Mana Naginata, a hero here, his general place on the right flank, and then over here he's put 2 Yari Cav and then a light Cav in the back. If we want to look at my build, I have Yari Cav in general here, and then basically 2 Bo Cav are running up in the front, and then I have 1 matchlock unit here, Bo Warrior Monk and Naginata Samurai paired here, and then I have 2 more Yari Cav in the forest here, and then some heavy Naginata Samurai with some Yari Samurai in the front, and then a hero here, and then Bo Ashigaru. So my build is mostly tailored for probing and sort of forcing my opponent to engage with my Bo Cav here. They're highly upgraded, they have great reload skills. And then I was trying to bait the opponent into running into my match like Ashigaru or my superior distance Bo Warrior Monks here. And then I would have a stable core in the center with some, Yari Samurai for quick response, high armor, and then also Naginata Samurai with huge armor, and then a Katana hero basically to chop up anything that came at them. So this was supposed to be my core, and then my cavalry units are pretty strong. Yari Cavalry here, rank 5, and then 2 more Yari Cav, 5 and 4 ranks. But what we're facing off against is going to be 1 traditional army here, and this is going to be 1 Steven Seagal, and then over here actually is going to be a more modern army, and Dado the Best 3000. So this kind of throws a wrench in our plans. I completely forgot that it involved the samurai that have access to cannons, so I wasn't anticipating getting bombed, and I didn't quite scout out my opponent at the beginning, and so you can see his cannons just tearing into my units as they charge out and try and probe, so that definitely neuters my ability to do what I want to do with my Bo Cav. We can take a look at his army right here. He has 2 Katana Kachi on that side, 1 Katana Kachi on this side. So some melee units, you can see these guys positioned right here. On the flanks, it's an all-white army basically. Shogunite infantry here, sort of his more stable and veteran core here, and then he has White Bear, and then Black Bear, and then Red Bear, basically all aligned here. So relatively cheap infantry, and he's actually brought the most infantry of all the armies, and that's something that I'm not going to hold against him. That kind of pisses me off when you're fighting old school versus modern armies, because what they can essentially do is just form a huge line, and when that happens there's no real way to deal with them. There's no way to get around them. If you try and do an upfront charge, they're just going to blast you, and when they stretch out, which you'll see him do in the future, it kind of causes problems to him. But again, that's nothing held against him, it's just the nature of when you do these types of matchups. So mostly the fight is going to be ongoing here, so let's go ahead and cover some of that. So I'm poking and probing with my cavalry, getting some initial volleys against these light cav and various other units. You can see I was able to pick off a couple of his higher tiered, actually no, those are just light cav. So I'm mostly just probing, and I'm losing more men than I'd like to the cannon fire, but I'm at least forcing him back, testing the water, seeing what he has and how his response time is. And I have to say, Steven Seagal was very good with his response time. Let's take a look at his deployment. He is exceptionally good at Total War, this Shogun game. His build mostly relies on what I have seen lately. I haven't played Shogun 2 in a while, but what I've been seeing as of late is a focus on Naginata and spear builds with very heavy armor. And the reasoning behind that is it allows you to be very steadfast and you can hold firm. And then what you put in your army is some of these types of units. So high damage dealers, for instance, and then you bring high damage dealing cavalry. So your infantry corps can do well in stabilizing and holding a fight, and then your cavalry basically is geared up for smashing the enemy cav. So let's go through that. So on this flank here, he has light cav and then Yari cav, and then he has bulletproof samurai right here and Yari samurai. So again, the combination of spears and Naginata with cavalry makes for a very potent mix and very hard to crack. The cavalry he positions here are good for probing. And then what he's done is he doesn't want me to come help my ally, so he's positioned these units here. Basically, these Naginata attendants are just fodder units, but they're enough to hold up at a cavalry charge that I might have. And then his basically long-range matchlocks are positioned right here. Anything I try and do to reinforce, he just scoots up and he can pick my guys off. So I'm forced to go and reinforce out through the back. His main center line is going to be sort of sparsely filled with some of these Naginata Warrior Monks and then Naginata Warrior Monks. So these guys have low armor but high attack. So he keeps these guys sort of in the center, but they're out of range, and he's going to try and push the flanks. So he's moving his attendants here. Positioned over here, he has some, I believe, more, okay, actually a matchlock unit here. So he does actually cover his center position with matchlocks. But onto the cavalry. The anal train, these guys were very, very, very much to be feared. Just base fire cav have astounding attack, charge stats, and when he upgraded them, they can tear into any cavalry. So he has more light cav and then also additional Yari cav position here. And like I was saying, this is where he puts the meat of his armored infantry, and these guys are great for just moving forward, especially when you tell them to do the rapid advance. They can close the gap. And with their armor, look at this. We have basically Koala Bear unleashing with the entirety of his force right here, his Bo Ashigaru. But given the nature of the terrain with the forest and the fact that he's shooting against armor, it completely neutralizes those guys. So that's why I think you're seeing a lot of the favoring of these high armor units. Anyways, he's going to poke and probe, see what the opponent's going to do, and then he's going to send forward these Yari Samurai just to try and bait these cavalry in. But what you're going to see is an engagement occur right on this flank. Also right here, I wanted to point out that I had tried to poke and probe and take out these light cav with some of my bows. But I got in range of his Matchlock Warrior Monks, who activated an ability that allows them to shoot further. So these guys are ideally positioned in the woods. I almost forgot about them. I sort of knew they were in the vicinity, but I didn't think they could shoot that far. He activated his ability and basically sniped my units. A very good move on that part. My other bow cav unit, however, was able to get some volleys off, so I was able to ward off some of these light cav. And you can see my guys have pretty exceptional range and accuracy, so I can start picking apart his units, which is what I'm intending to do with my cavalry. And I'm starting to shift more guys to this vicinity. I'm also going to be pouring some of these Yari cavalry, bringing them over to this flank to try and help out. But here you go, this is going to be the engagement on this side. Sorry, I'm still in slow motion, there's just so much going on. But here you go, Anal Train is going to be coming back here. Yari cav, and then this light cav. Light cav is supposed to absorb the charge of these heavy units. So he's going to provoke a charge from the Yari cav and then follow up with other units. You can see how he's pushing forward constantly with the spearmen. They've really lost almost nothing, and they're trying to bait a charge from the Yari cav, at least try and halt them and just provide pressure, intercept, and then he'll charge in with these cavs. So at all points, Steven Seagal is being very tactical with his use of units. However, it looks like what he's going to try and do right here, that is Koala Bear, is actually poke and just sort of go through the gap right here and try and charge at those Matchlock Samurai. However, the Anal Train units are going to try and prevent that from happening. And as always, he has these Naginata attendants positioned right behind his guys. These guys are very cheap units, but they can hold up against a cavalry charge. Essentially, what you do is you position them right behind your matchlocks. Matchlocks get off shots, they fall back, and then these Naginata attendants will basically hold up any additional charge. So what he's done is force these guys to expose themselves, and now they're kind of in an awkward position where they're pushing up here, and this light cav is going to try and catch them out in the open. Meanwhile, these Yari Samurai are going to be charging forward, counteracting these own Yari guys, holding them in place, and then here comes the oncoming tide. The Anal Train basically just went in through here, a massive charge, effectively routing this light cav right from the start. The other Yari cav took a tremendous hit, and they're falling back. So what I'm doing at this point is I'm going to position my own highly veteran Yari cavalry here to try and prevent the flank rolling up, but I don't have enough, so I'm pulling in my bow cav, more bow cav, and then I'm also going to be peeling off some more units here and my general. As for this front, like I was saying, he's basically doing this tactic where he's stretching across the entire map. Again, it's unfortunate, I wish he didn't do this, but basically what he's trying to do is just almost create a second red line, constantly decreasing the size of the battlefield, and he's kind of allowing his ally to do the work of this battle. So now that this cavalry strike and they're sweeping in through here, let's watch some of this. Very epic. We can actually go ahead and put this on play right now. I think I've talked enough in slow-mo, but they're wrapping up the units, and then he's going to pull back. A good move. And you can see just how quickly he's moving these guys around, putting all sorts of different orders, trying to react to me. So he's realized that he doesn't quite have the ability to crack my units, so he's going to probe again with the light cav as he always does. I'm also probing with my own cavalry, and every time having these guys cycling in and out, one group charging in, getting off some arrows, and then the other group retreating. So I'm going to constantly do that, and that'll be enough to hold those guys at bay. Meanwhile, this Yari Samurai took out the other Yari Samurai despite having taken so many losses from the archers. He does charge with some more Yari Samurai into these Matchlock Samurai. Those guys are going to be forced to retreat. And what that does is it cues a charge through the center because he's sort of, Koala Bear that is, he's lost the cohesion of his front line. Take a look at this. He's going to get intercepted right here. These Naganator Warrior Monks have an exceptional attack, and they're going to just be crushing into these Yari Samurai. What you want to do to counter these Naganator Warrior Monks is obviously direct the archer fire, but all these archers are positioned in an awkward angle where they're mostly firing over here. They should be focusing fire on these Naginata's Warrior Monks, because those guys have virtually no armor. If he could, we'd be able to wipe out these high-value units, but instead, he was forced to redirect his shots over here. And these guys who cleaned up some of the fight here are going to be just chasing after my cavalry, so that's another benefit of bringing some highly upgraded Yari Samurai, is they can chase after cav really effectively. And all the shots I'm putting on with my my own bow cav and the additional bow Ashigaru, they're doing almost no damage to this unit. So again, just to the benefits of using these Yari Samurai in combat. And that's opening up, it's chasing off my cavalry and allowing him to charge in through here. So Steven Seagal is doing a great move. Matchlock Samurai in supporting position, and here he's just breaking through this front, charging in with some more of his cavalry units, and now he's into the thick of the bow units, so this entire front is going to start collapsing. Now you may be wondering why I'm not reinforcing with all of my forces. Well, it's because I'm facing a wall of guns, and if I were to just shift position move here, he would just collapse on me. So I'm sending kind of forces piecemeal. I should have probably sent more, but I don't want to overcommit, especially with what they've done here. Hidden here, I can't really cut across this position right here. He has these what is it, the Matchlock Warrior Monks who can fire exceptionally far, so he's holding down that front, keeping me from reinforcing. In any case, you can see the entire collapse of this force running through the forest. You can watch this being pursued by these just high-skilled units. And then the cavalry is returning from where they had exploited my panicked route that were chased away by his own spears. He comes back and he completes the encirclement. So really a devastating assault. Props to Steven Seagal. He just obliterated this army. I feel bad for Koala Bear. But he hasn't played too much of the multiplayer for Shogun 2, and especially having a discrepancy in unit veterancy really is a hampering. But, you know, it really deals with the skill of this player. Anyways, we're going to be continuing the fight on this side, and I'm sort of reforming. I'm going to allow the routing army here. Hopefully, if they don't go off the map, they'll be pulling back to my forces. So I've pulled here with my two bow cav and some more Yari cav to try and save these archers. You can see me rolling in through here, and I was going to countercharge his own cav, chase them off the field. So I was able to chase them off and sort of allow these bow Ashigaru to regroup. However, I did sort of run over some of them in the process. I'm moving up with some more support right here, and what Steven Seagal is doing is he's reforming in these woods out of range. He knows the danger posed by my bow cav. He's not going to expose his units needlessly. But here we go. Again, I was trying to move into position, but he moved his Matchlock Warrior Monks who can have the ability to extend their range. These guys are just preventing me from moving forward and reinforcing in any sort of quick path. Anyways, here we go. You can see as I'm reforming, this is where he pushes up his entire line. So again, closing up this main front. What I'm going to try and do in the face of this is scoot one of my Yari Cav around this flank. And the only way you can basically defeat these armies is getting around the flank, so that's what I'm going to do soon. So you can see me peeling them off over there. And then I'm going to wait for his charge sort of in the woods. I'm going to try and get some shots off with my superior range bow warrior monks, try and pick off his units and prep for a strike on this side. At the same time, my katana hero basically has no purpose fighting against these infantry, so I'm going to try and pull him over here and sort of establish a fighting retreat at this position. And, you know, try and pick off these guys, the animal train right there. I'm getting some shots off with my bow cav, but it's just not really doing enough. So he did a good job of just striking. You know, this unit should not be extending too far. And I was scared away by some of his matchlocks, again, positioned here, and the fact that he has more units there. So I really can't encroach on that territory. All I can do is approach piecemeal. Again, the Avatar General Bodyguard right here got too close, and these matchlocks are really sealing down that position. So it's going to be a fighting downhill battle at this point. I was able to scoot some of my cavalry around this flank, so I'm going to go after this cannon, although at this point it's basically out of ammo. I'm still going to just go and kill them and try and bait some units here and then go for a rear strike on this position. So that'll be sort of a countdown, we'll say. Anyways, I'm reforming in this open field here. I know I can take them in the open field just because of the versatility of the bow cav. He wants to charge out with his cavalry. That's fine. I can take them. Just scoot one in front, shoot, retreat, have another cav that reforms and shoots, and all of his cavalry will basically have to deal with that oncoming fire. And then some pretty high-level cavalry that I have positioned here, as well as the fact that I've brought over some more Nagano samurai that I can rally behind. These bows are here in the forest to prevent a charge through this position. But again, Steven Seagal got away with the obliteration of an entire army. And if he were to just fight me one-on-one, it would probably be an even fight. I think I would win just because obviously I'm more unmolested in terms of numbers. But then we have this entire army back here that's still alive. Here we go for the strike on the cannons. I just want to take out this unit. However, here he comes with his own general. I don't think he can get off some shots with his pistol. Some of the modern generals can, but I was still afraid of that, so I charged in, dealt some damage, and then went ahead and retreated. So I went ahead and pulled back right there. These guys are basically going to start sort of routing, although somehow they were able to kill a couple of my horsemen, so that was really disappointing. Not sure how that happened, but his general is going to go back and reform. And now we're sort of at a standstill, so I pulled my cavalry back behind the safety of these woods just because I want to have the advantage of the woods. And I knew I might have to position my own bow cav in this area here because you can see the army bearing down. I wanted some flexible support to swing them to the right if necessary. Now we're having a little bit of a peace and a lull, so let's go ahead and just zoom in on some of these units, see some of them. Here are my pink warriors in the forest, highly veteran and upgraded guys. There are some beast stats, and here you can see my own Boa Shigara looking out at the remnants of that army, and you can see troop movement in the distance, cavalry running off to the side, and on the right they can see this huge infantry formation moving up. So this is probably going to be something worthy of them pissing their pants. Let's go ahead and take a look at this infantry movement here. Just take a look at how he moves his forces up. It's very methodical. He's got his matchlock samurai here, so basically covering any of my forces who would move forward. These guys are covering against that, and then he moves these guys piecemeal. Yari samurai always covering, and then cavalry following up slowly but surely. And he's always staying in the range of cover, and now he's going to sort of allow his ally to push forward. I move forward with my matchlocks out here. They're mostly a meat shield. I know I can't take my opponent, but I wanted them to move up, just absorb some of the fire, because you can see I'm moving in with my cavalry. I may have done that a bit preemptively, but I wanted them to get off some initial shots, trigger sort of volleys from those two, and allow me to push forward and get some shots off with those guys. My cavalry were able to scoot around the side, and this is exactly what you want when facing an opponent like this, is draw their fire with a low value unit, and then you're going to want to charge in from the side. So here comes my general on the flank. His thin line right here is going to be subject to the charge of my general, and now I can cut through his red bear, and they should be crumbling pretty easily. So that's going to be me turning the tide here, and then my own cavalry is going to return from this front. I've been peppering them with volleys from my archers. Let's watch some of this. And there we go. So I'm going to be able to collapse these two units. My matchlocks are still alive for some additional covering fire. My own bow cav for some more fire as well. So I'm collapsing this front. And now I'm going to decide to break apart his line here, continue the charge with my cavalry along the flank, and decide to charge forward with my Naginaras, considering that he's not going to be able to fight back. However, the staggered line right here is going to allow him to get some more fire, and his ally, Steven Seagal, is going to be poking in through here with his cav, exploiting the gap that I left. I charged back because I knew that my cavalry were about to rout, and the additional fire that he's getting off with his general was just too much for my force. I had to pull back. Doing so allowed him to unleash some fire on me. And these guys are actually going to try and get a charge off on my Katana hero, who's sitting here kind of needlessly. At the same time, they're pushing on this front, again, with the Nagata tendency to soak up the fire, and then these matchlocks in the back. His cavalry is now pressing the advantage, so I'm going to go ahead and try and hold this front. I'm getting around the flank with my Yari cav. He's going to chase me. However, I'm microing somewhere else, so these guys unfortunately are going to get caught by his Nagata attendants. I was going to charge into these matchlock warrior monks, but again, he has an answer to that. The anal trained cav is going to be coming in through there. Over on this flank, I was able to countercharge his Yari cav. Some more of them are coming in. I'm going to try and support with some Nagata samurai. But that's kind of exposing this force here. No more Nagata samurai. He can charge into my bows, so at all points they're being very effective. Let's watch this flank. I was not even able to kill this unit after all the forces I threw at them. So that's what I really don't like at the traditional versus modern forces. Just it's really hard to be cost efficient, especially if they spread out their lines like this. You saw how I got a double strike on this, but given the fact that he has more troops, even in the distance, even if they get friendly fire, they can crack my units. So I got a massive strike on these two forces. Almost none of my guys lost here, but I decided to charge down the line, and his forces got some shots off, and that's enough to basically rout those units. And then, yeah, I was forced to fall back to the forest. And it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you keep committing, you'll just get obliterated by the additional forces in the back. But if you retreat, you're subject to just volleys and volleys into your back. So it's a really hard-fought battle, especially when you have another opponent here who has almost a half-strength army that is extremely potent, and that's tearing apart my flank. So it's almost a 1.5 versus 1 battle right here. Again, nothing to say about, you know, nothing against my ally, Koala Bear, or nothing against my opponent for using this army. It's just kind of how it plays out. But I do want to say that Steven Seagal was definitely the MVP of this battle, doing very well. And yeah, they're just stretching me apart. I am able to isolate some of these attendants who got out too far. However, I lost my Boa Shigara in the forest. And again, he's being methodical with how he advances, wiping out areas of resistance, moving up with these matchlock warrior monks. These guys with their extended range can force me back, so I'm again forced to pull back from these positions. As I pull back, he's just going to scoot in with his fire cav, and again his Yari samurai, and some more matchlocks. So that's a very good way to try and put a stranglehold on me. Anyway, I charge back with my Nagana Samurai into the thick of this infantry blob. So a little pink versus white. I should be able to take these infantry, and I'm going to throw in some more Nagana Samurai, and then my own Yari Cav is just going to be thrown into this mix, trying to hold back his Red Bear. But you can see with more lines back here, these guys can just collapse on my position. And yeah, I'm starting to rout some of them, but look at this. He throws in his Katana Kachi, so bring just a couple fodder Katana units. He can throw those into the mix, hold my guys back. He pulls back his Bear Infantry, and they can just get off some more shots. My Yari Cav was enough to hold them back, so it kept them from firing on my position, but that's not going to last for long. They're going to go ahead and reform and just murder my guys, so it's really hard to combat those forces. Anyways, again here, landing some more strikes. He's targeting specifically my hero unit, trying to bring him down. I countercharge, but again, he's just drawing me into the fire of his matchlock warrior monks. Ooh, that's a really cool kill animation. Throwing the spear and picking it off. But yeah, you can see again, any false move you do against those guys is really hard to predict. Just where their firing distance is with the upgrades. And again, I'm forced to fall back. So as I said, he reformed those guys after throwing in a fodder unit. 1 or 2 volleys from them is going to be enough to just decrease the shit out of my morale, especially in the long lines he's in. So there you go, he sacrificed 1 cheap unit, and he's able to take out my guys. Even if I punch through that, he doesn't care about friendly fire. He's going to keep pouring on the fire onto my guys, obliterate them. And yeah, there's not much I can do in this instance. I'm left with these units here, not going to be live much longer, and some of these guys are getting off some shots against my Bocav. I was hoping to target and get some shots off, especially with my Bocav in the force. I'm doing decent damage against these guys, but again, pressing the advantage here, very methodical as always, so you can definitely learn from this playstyle. And I brought back my Katana hero in the forest. I figured I'd rather have him face this traditional army than the non-traditional one. So he's going to be pulled back behind sort of my meat shield here. And this is where we're going to choose to engage. Sort of 2 pink warrior units fight against each other. So it's a high attack unit against a high armor unit. We'll see how that goes. So you can see his high attack getting the most of that initial charge, killing some of my guys. But now the tide is going to turn as I throw in some of my Katana heroes who have high attack, and his low armor is going to mean I'm going to be cutting them to pieces. However, in the distance, more guys are getting into the fight, and he's throwing some more Yari Samurai around the flank, going to get the backs of my guys. I'm going to try and countercharge this in a little bit with my guys. Yari Samurai are going to try and isolate those guys, keep them from getting around the flank. My Bocav are doing their best to ward off this anal train. And here we go, he obliterated my forces. Field is littered with dead bodies. I'm going to bring these guys in to try and attack this flank. But mostly he's just crushed this position. And here he's getting his Nagana guys to try and target my bows. Over here, let's go ahead and watch some of this fight that's developing in here. It's a little hard to follow what's going on with the mix of colors, but I have yellow and pink. So you can see me mostly on the left and he's on the right. The kill animations and just the animations in general in this game are super awesome. I love watching this close up. I'm charging with my bow cav just to try and change up a little bit of the outcome of the battle. However, as soon as they get their charge off, they're going to be biting it because again, the reliance on Naginata and Spear is going to be very good against any cavalry units. So yeah, very effective. So alas, my vocab did not get very many kills at the end of this. There you go, they're running. And his own general is going to get into the mix, try and rally his guys. And again, he's getting some of these Nodachi around my flank. And these guys have, again, huge attack charges, so they're going to be cutting into my guys. It's only a matter of time before they can close in on my outnumbered, outgunned, and almost outclassed Katana hero. So they're kind of boxed in right here. You can see them try and fend off this numerous Naginata attack, but the Nodachi are forming up behind them. So here we go, a charge from the back into my Katana hero. So this is going to be the last of my troops. We can go ahead and see what else is going on, but that's basically it. It's down to my Katana hero, and here we go. They're massacred. So very close. Oh no, I wouldn't say a close battle so much, but a very interesting battle to say the least. So hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned from this. Definitely the tactics of Steven Seagal was very, very effective, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time.